me up here, Michael. This is too early in the morning.
Lined up.
Some days the tech support in this business is not great.
Do you think we could fire him? Do you think HR would allow it?
No, HR would definitely have some issues
Fire me.
with it.
Aye.
I'm in here.
So, are you recording?
Yeah, we're on.
We're on, excellent. So, Business Babble here, and we have our guest, which is Nicola Walker from King Street Nutrition. So, good morning to you, Nicola.
Morning, Johnny. Thank you guys for having me.
No, thanks for getting up so early.
I'm just
I'm
impressed
always
that
up
Johnny
early.
got that King Street Nutrition part right. I'm like amazed at it because I could see the worry in his eyes.
Do you know what it was like last week when we had the podcast? I wrote down specific things, but I couldn't read them. I couldn't make it out. I'm like, I've just totally destroyed that one. Was it Cuddy it was on?
Yeah.
I was like, Fife's leading mind management coach. I think it was something. Whatever, anyway. Here we go. So, Nicola, I'm going to go straight into it. How did you start your business?
Oh, wow.
Where did it all start for you?
So, it was never my plan to be in business. I was always academic at school. I thought quite quickly that I wanted to go to university. I thought I wanted to be the next Judge Judy and all that. Wanted to get into law.
I like Judge Judy though.
Yeah, so apparently that's not what it's all about though. So a couple of years into my degree, I realised actually this is not for me, but in all honesty, I didn't know what I wanted to do next. So I thought I'll finish and I'll see what happens. So I graduated, decent degree, despite the lack of passion for it and effort probably. But I fell into a job as a legal editor and I stayed there for about 6 years. And loved the people, did not like the work. And after about 6 or 7 years, I just thought, this can't be it for the next 40 years. 40 hours a week for 40 years. And I think coming from a family business, I don't think I ever saw my parents go out to work doing something that they didn't enjoy without any flexibility or choice or anything like that. So in all honesty, I was in a bind, my husband and I at the time, because you want to do other things. Maybe I want to study this. Maybe I want to go back and do that. But we did like what everyone did. We graduated. We got good jobs apparently. And then you get a mortgage and bills and so on and so on. So it didn't seem financially possible to then go restudy. Thinking about starting a family as well. So there were just too many moving parts that was never going to work. So one frustrated day at work, I just Googled work from home, fitness. I didn't know anything about nutrition at the time. That wasn't my passion, but I am from a big sports background. So I've played basketball all my life. And I loved that team element. I thought if I could do something from home, maybe I could raise a family, maybe I could do something like that. Came across an opportunity to become a wellness coach. Didn't know anything about it, but at the time I was very open-minded and I was desperate, in all honesty. I was desperate for change. And I spoke to a lady who was already coaching. She told me that that's what she did part-time. They were looking to build a full-time business. I was just really inspired. And long story short, my husband at the time, we grafted evenings and weekends. We just thought this could be something that could potentially actually allow us both to work from home. He was a chartered accountant at the time with an eye for business. And that's really what we did. It was evenings and weekends, building it up to the point where I could give up my job and to the point where he could also. So that was 13 years ago. So it's probably been about 11 and a half years full-time in business.
Wow, that's a bit of a journey.
Started, yeah.
Especially when people, might see you on your videos and, they create a story of what your background is, but for them to actually know it all came from hard work and dedication. I think that's where a lot of people start in business, they don't realise how hard you actually have to physically work and mentally work.
Yeah.
And would you say that's the attribute you've got from the background? You said your family came from a business background.
Yep.
Do you think that stirred you on a wee bit because you were living like that? You were living in that life beforehand?
I think so. I think it was that element of, I just didn't like the idea of having to ask for when my time off would be or when I could go on holiday, and if my kids were sick and I'd have to then, take unpaid leave or whatever it was. I just wanted to have that choice. And what I will say for women as well, and that's why I'm particularly passionate about women in business, is that we often have to make that choice. Mm-hmm. You're either going to be career focused, which is great if you've got a passion, a career that you're focused on and you want to build and you want to achieve certain things, or you have to step back from that and to focus on being a mum. Mm-hmm. And I found myself in a place where I'm not passionate about this job and I'll have to go back to work full time and probably have full-time childcare. So someone else was going to see my kids' first steps and first words and so on. And I just thought there has to be another way. And that's what drove me, really. And I just thought, in all honesty, when I say sacrifice, but it was sacrificing things that weren't really serving me anyway. I always call it Netflix time. If it was a few hours of Netflix every night and, it was building the business instead of that. If we had to miss a barbecue or a social event here or there, that had to be because the goals were bigger at that time. So I was a big believer in, I think I learned quite early that you could really graft for a few years and give up some stuff to then have freedom for the rest of your life.
Yep.
So that's really the goal. And like any business, it's been up and down. Of course it is. But that end goal is never there. I always say my worst day in this business was better than my best day in my previous job.
Wow.
That's
right.
good,
Okay.
yeah.
If that makes sense.
So you see when because everybody likes to share their stories in business, or we like to share our stories in business, the trials and tribulations of it. What has kept you motivated through the downward spirals that we can all have, and especially the ones that you've possibly had? What's kept you motivated to keep moving forward?
I think people are a big part of that. The people you surround yourself with. Because I think a lot of people in business, it can be quite isolating. You're working either self-employed in the beginning or a sole trader, and you maybe yourself in your own industry, and that can be quite difficult. Whereas I quickly learned, or I had fantastic mentors. That's one of the biggest things. In my own industry and in my own business, then doing a lot of business networking locally with people not in my industry, people like yourself, Johnny and Vicus, and getting around a lot of people that had the same goals and ambitions, you realise you're not alone when you have dips in your business. It's completely normal. In all honesty, if you don't have them, expect them. There's a big one coming, I would say. And being around other people that have been through those trials and tribulations means that that's normal. And in all honesty, the bigger the hurdle, then the bigger the comeback, I do think. So people's a big part of it. And in our business, I think we had to do, because I was, as I say, very academic. It was always a lot of learning for a job, but there was never any mindset development or business training. We don't get that at school. And I certainly didn't get any of that at university. So I had to go on a journey of personal development. I was reading everything and learning everything, audios and all this, and whether it was Jim Rohn or Tony Robbins, you name it, Darren Hardy, I was very, very big into, I'm going to have to teach myself about mindset and how to get over it. And I didn't join the business. I didn't start my business for that reason at all. I started to probably make a part-time salary around children. But that personal development journey, in all honesty, has probably been the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, because it served me in business and in personal life in ways I never thought it would need to. I thought before, I'm quite educated, I'm quite motivated, that would be enough. But not at all. I knew nothing about mindset, nothing about any of that. And that's allows me to see the bigger picture in any situation, take a step back and I think maybe try and have an emotional maturity to it and see things for what they are, not better than they are, not worse than they are, and adjust. Doesn't mean there's not tears and tantrums and all that, but it's
plenty.
That's been the biggest thing, yeah.
What when you say you have mentors, how did that come about? Where did you find your mentors?
Well, there was mentors in my industry already who'd already had success doing what I was doing, I feel like. So being able to latch onto them, doing a lot of personal development, we realised that there's a great saying, you're the average of the 5 people you're around. And when I was shown that, or I was sort of introduced to that concept, what have they got you reading, what have they got you listening, watching and all that, and I thought, that's interesting. Which meant you had to then spend a little less time with certain people that weren't serving your goals, and whether it's friends or family or whatever that happens to us all, and be around the people that are where you want to be, that are a level where you're going to be, because you'll then be the next person at that level. I feel like if someone was healthier than I was, great, what are they doing? If someone had, if they were traveling more than I was, how are they allowing themselves to do that? Or it's not all about the money, but the money gives you the freedom. If someone's making more money, how is it that they're doing that, and how are they able to have that freedom of choice? So I was very big on, and still am, getting around people that are where I want to be. And a little bit less, your circle will always evolve throughout life, I think, anyway, but more mindful, very careful of who I spend my time with.
Yes, and that changes as well, like you say, as you're growing in your business and what your needs are. Yeah.
So, King Street Nutrition, it's in the title, nutrition, but explain it a little bit, what you do and how you do it and what's the benefits of it for people.
So our business has actually been primarily always built from home initially. And 2 years back, we opened up King Street Nutrition because what we did before on an individual basis was helping people one-to-one primarily with their nutrition habits. Because most people struggle with weight, digestion, heart health, all these different things, fitness, because of the nutrition. And because I was a person that was into sports, and I didn't think I knew it all, to be honest, because I was a couple of stone heavier than I was, but I just thought that was my build, because how could I possibly, I'm training all the time, So I just thought everything was about training, because that's how in all honesty, that's how a lot of Scottish athletes are raised. And when I got so passionate, when I changed my nutrition and followed some of the guidelines of what I was teaching, my results and my fitness results improved massively. I had great shape change. I feel way fitter and stronger now than I ever did 13 years ago. So I became passionate about passing that on to others. And it was very much on a one-to-one basis. But what we realised was that people get better results in a community. Mm-hmm. So 2 years ago, when we opened the nutrition club, that meant that we could get face-to-face with people. They could bounce off each other. We could give them more accountability, which is, I think, key for anyone's goals, health, business, or anything like that. So being able to see people a few times a week meant that they could get better results and we could change their habits quicker rather than maybe once a week or once a month when we were touching base. They couldn't hide from us in the same way as they might. You'll know that, Johnny.
Yes, I know that.
So, and in all honesty, and it's just work I'm extremely passionate about, because if you change people's health, you do change their life. Because 100%. I'm a big believer, if you don't feel well, you can't do well. There comes a time when you will burn out. There comes a time when you might become ill. So if you can help people with their health, they'll then have more family time, more productivity in their business, more able to work longer hours if it's a career they're passionate about or whatever. So that's where it starts for me. But we're only open in the morning time, which means we can really front load our day with a lot of positivity, a lot of effective work, but really impact the community. And our goal long term is to roll out multiple nutrition clubs. I think I've shared this with you before, Johnny. Our club it's a 100-member club. We built to 100 members. We expand, which we do. And we've got multiple clubs around the UK as it is. We want to grow more. A lot of them are down south. We want to grow more in Scotland. So we've got a club in Inverkeithing. Some of our team have just opened up their club in Kirkcaldy, which is exciting. So in the next year or two, we'll be rolling out a couple more clubs in and around Dunfermline and Fife.
Do you think, so this King Street, that's in Inverkeithing?
Yes. Yeah, on King Street.
King Street, there you go. It's all there. Inverkeithing, King Street Nutrition.
It's in the name.
Do you think now, 2024, do you think people, I think there's always an element of procrastination, but do you think there's a lot of people, the age demographic, let's go for that. And we were talking about this earlier on. At what age do people start thinking about their health, the internal body, you have that strap line, look after your body, it's the only place you have to live, which is fantastic. I'm only 33.
You did your birthday, did you not?
I just thought just the weekend there. Still waiting for my gift, just to let you know. I've turned 40 and it's only been maybe the last couple of years I've been thinking about it. I've got a family. And yes, you want shape change and things like that, and you want the visual impact, you want to be nice looking and all that. But it's more the internal thing. When you get into the later stages of years, you go, I really need to start looking after myself a bit more. And how do I do it? Because as I've had previous chats with yourself, I struggle to understand nutrition. I mean, sports people might understand nutrition because they've got somebody, their sidekick at the side, explain it all. Would you say that's what you're trying to do? Take somebody on a mentorship and give them the education through the nutrition?
Absolutely, it's all about that. And most people, in all honesty, fall down on the basics. They actually think it's a more complicated subject than it needs to be because there's a lot of different thoughts. There's a different follow this and follow that and follow this. For me, you live a lifestyle that suits you, that keeps your energy high, that is healthy for you, and it suits your circumstances. That's it. I don't promote anything over anything else. I just know what works for me and what I believe in. So I think that the education part is massive because I don't eat like a saint. I don't want to eat like a saint, but you don't need to still have good health.
You're eating
You don't need to, yeah, exactly. But people that do want to, I fully promote that as well, But for us, if it's someone's birthday, we love them to go out to celebrate. We love them to go on holiday and enjoy it. We don't see you going on holiday so you can only eat X, Y, Z. It's not about that at all. It's actually about, let's have a really good diet 80% of the time so you can go and enjoy your holiday, not come back and feel sluggish, feel bloated and feel all those things. So it's much more about the health than the shape change. That is why people come to us usually in the beginning because they want to look visually better, is what they think. But we come from it, because we're not a diet company, we come from it from the perspective of nutrition. And actually weight loss, if that's what the goal is a side effect. If you eat right, your body will start to get into the right shape. If you eat the right balance of nutrients. So every day we're just talking about simple things. Did you drink enough water today? Did we get enough protein in your diet? Maybe too many of the beige foods. It's simple stuff. That's where most people go wrong.
Do you think people are after quick fix solutions? Do they in what you do you think that people give up when they don't see those results in the first 2, 3, 4 weeks and go, this isn't for me, instead of focusing on the long-term goal? Because if you want to lose, so I think in kilograms, not in pounds or stone, okay? So if you lose 10 kilograms, do they think it has to happen in a month's time? Or do they actually think, if I lose a kilo a month, that'll be okay? How do you find that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I do think we live in a world where people do want a quick fix because everything is instant. But by the same token, people are more, and I think it's an age thing, are more interested now in being healthier for life as they do get older. But you're right, some people do come to us and say, I'm getting married in 2 months' time and I need to lose this amount of weight. And we can be quite focused for that period of time. But in the back of my mind, I'm still thinking it needs to be weight loss for life, or it needs to be healthy habits for life. So for sure, and I think people also always want the path of least resistance as well. But it honestly doesn't need to be hard, because I'm on the same nutrition plan, if you like, or I've been eating the same way for 13 years, and it's easy. Yeah. Super easy.
So please tell us that you don't just eat lettuce leaves and stuff. Because I think very often people go,
Nicole's a party animal.
so just give us an example. Well, what does a good diet look like?
A good diet has the right amount of protein, carbohydrates, it has vitamins and minerals, plenty of water and fibre, right? For me, I always start my day every day with a smoothie. It's high in protein, vitamins and minerals, the right amount of carbohydrates and so on. I'm snacking on fruit, nuts, eggs, whole foods, different things like that. Very focused on protein, and we don't promote a high protein diet per se, but what the reality is that most people are deficient in protein. They don't really eat much protein till dinner time. They're certainly not getting enough at breakfast, lunch. So we look to lift that in a way. So protein snacking and things like that.
So not Maltesers for breakfast. That's bad.
Sometimes that's all right.
He forced me to have two.
Yeah, it is balanced. And I know that sounds cliche to say, it is honestly balanced.
Yeah.
But most people, as soon as someone sits down in front of me and we go through a free evaluation with them, then I can almost guarantee what they're gonna say, because it's how I was raised to eat as well. They're gonna have cereal or toast for breakfast, probably, or Malteser sometimes, coffee and a muffin. They're probably gonna have some sort of bread at lunchtime, maybe a soup. They're gonna have very typical family dinners of a night time. And what's gonna happen? There's just gonna be too many of the wrong carbohydrates too often throughout the day, not enough protein, and we just try and correct that balance a little bit for them.
So it is all about balance. I want to circle back to something you said earlier on, that you were desperate for a job. When you were looking to more create a better lifestyle for anything. Yeah. But controversial question, is it more difficult for women in business than it is for men? Because we had Kay and Belinda on, or they coming back on, and that was definitely something that they said, that there is still a very big shift in mindset, that it's more difficult for women, which it is. If you look at just gender pay gaps, for that matter. Yeah. What is your experience in that?
I think probably generally, yes. I think it's depending on your industry, not necessarily, because women in my industry probably do better than men, maybe because it seems a more feminine topic, of whether it's weight loss or nutrition or wellness, but not necessarily so. I do think also there's a perception, and this grinds me a little bit, is when...
you can get it out here, it's okay.
Yeah. When women maybe feel like they need to be a certain way to be successful. Yeah. They feel that they maybe need to be
they compensate.
Yeah. Over aggressive in certain ways. They need to be too strict, too blunt, too direct. I just think if you're authentic, then people buy people anyway, So, and sometimes because I do a lot of business network, and I do walk into some rooms and I can see women that either it looks, they're not being authentically themselves.
They're guarded, though.
But maybe that's because they feel like they have to be a certain way to be heard. And if that's how they feel, then that's maybe fair to them. I hope that's not because that's the reality.
Do you think that's a societal norm where this is the way society perceives it to be and this is the way society dictates it to be? Or is it just personal preference?
A bit of both. And I think as more women... I think as the rise of entrepreneurship, and especially in women, that will obviously help, because then if there are some older thoughts or older philosophies from men around women in business, that will hopefully start to fade, and there is more respect. I can't say personally I've had a lot of disrespect or no,
because you'll stab them with a knife, so that's okay.
Certainly not to my face, because here come, that's I don't ever feel like that when I walk in a room, like I'm Interestingly, I've actually felt like that one time business networking at a women's event, which I was disappointed with. Because I remember, I can't remember the actual event, but I do remember going in and we all sort of did a 60 seconds, as you do, pitched a little bit about our business. And as we were networking at the end, and there was a group of us, a woman came up to, and she was, asking, reminding us who we all were and so on. And I said who I was, and she went, her words were something like, you're the little nutrition girl, like that. And I was...
It's a little bit derogatory.
And I was like, I don't mind really even being called a girl, but it was the intonation. I'll take that if she thinks I was younger. Yeah, it's fine. But I was like, no, I'm a woman, and actually I've built a business that's international. Do you know? And I wasn't going to say that. It wasn't like some kind of humble brag or anything like that. But it was just, I thought, that's interesting.
But it's perception.
Yeah,
Well, I'm going to put the perception.
So that made me think, why does she perceive me that way? So it was a learning for me.
Yeah.
You know, and that was interesting. And funnily enough, when I went into other rooms, most people have been very interested in what I've had to say or how I built my business, what my story is. And that's when I realised actually, and I don't think it was anything to do with the fact it was a women's networking event. Let me make that clear. It was it was just the one woman, if you like. Everyone else was lovely and it was a fantastic event. But what I find is the people that have got all the answers are usually the ones that are not the answers that you want. They're not the people you actually want to listen to. Where the people that are asking the questions are the people that actually have the right answers. You know, because successful people are asking, they're interested in you because they're curious about business, they're curious about opportunity, they're curious about how your mindset works. Whereas if people are coming at you, and I got that at the start of my business because we were doing something a little bit different. There was a lot of, what are you doing that for? You've got a good job. That sounds risky. There's a lot of that. But because I'd seen that this could be successful, that overrode that, if you like. But I've seen that. We always say, the birds will get some people. I've seen that catch a lot of people. Too many opinions around them from the wrong people that they've took heed. And I would say wrongly so. You know,
and especially when things aren't going well in business, then those negative voices seem to be amplified in your mind. And then people come across your path that you might not necessarily be with.
It's edifying how you might be feeling. I was doubtful. Maybe they're right.
Yeah.
You know?
I think once I'm going to rewind here, just the perception for people that don't know you. And I've known you for some time now. But I think, and this is me just being totally honest, I was blown away, and I've said this before, when I went down to Birmingham to see you hold. I mean, how many people were in that auditorium?
That time maybe 2,500, something like that maybe.
And you actually genuinely on the stage. Now, I love to give people praise as well because I don't think we do enough of that. But when I seen you on stage, I was like, fucking hell, that's the last in the corner for me. That's the nutrition girl. Did I get an autograph? I was like, no. Wow, I was actually blown away. And how well you articulate yourself on stage, and you just own the stage. And that's a really daunting, difficult thing to do for a lot of people. And I think you might not, I think a lot of people will not realise that's what you do in the background. You do genuinely help. You've helped me a lot of the time in the back with my nutrition, but the fact that you've got the education there, and as you said before, you're the average of 5 people you hang around with. You're just a driving force. It's quite clear that you're a driving force going forward. Things will just get knocked out of the way because you've got your target, you've got the goal. And I think it's for our listeners and our viewers as well, what they're going to take away from this. And they have to, maybe if they're a woman as well, if they want to reach out to you and go to King Street Nutrition, check you out. I mean, how do they find out more about you?
So they can find us on Facebook or on Instagram. They'll find King Street Nutrition. It should be very obvious. Or even reaching out to me personally, I'm probably relatively easy to find on social media. So, but via our business pages is great. But we just like to get to know people. I mean, sometimes we always say we're a bit of a nosy cow, but if we know about people, that's what drives us.
But you can only help if you know.
Sorry.
Exactly. So it's not, because a lot of people, they want to lose a few pounds or they want to do this and that, but we really want to know why. How is this going to affect your life? What does being that size mean to you? Because we're sort of drilled into thinking you need to look a certain way or be a certain way, but without really asking those questions of why. So if someone did come to me and say, look, I want to be 10 stone or whatever, I try and come away from the number of the 10 stone, but what do they associate with that number?
Yeah, so
was there a feeling they felt when they were younger at that age or before their kids or something? And then when I know that, I'm then also more driven. They're also now more connected to their goals. Because I always ask them, why does that matter? And actually, because I want, my clothes are a little bit tight. What clothes are you wearing? Oh, I'm just only wearing black stuff that's baggy. And what would you like to wear? Oh, actually, I would like to, and things I've not thought about because time passes so quick and our habits are taking us where we're going to be, good or bad, usually bad. We like to make people very aware of, if you make no changes today, in 6 months' time or at the start of the summer, you maybe still be wearing things that you don't want to wear. But in 6 months' time, it could be so different. You could be energized, you could be, and you should be able to wear any swimwear no matter your shape or size. So I'm not saying you have to look a certain way. That's their own perception. Their own confidence is maybe they want to wear a certain thing. I say if you've got a body and you've got a bikini, then you've got a bikini body, right?
There we go.
Well,
exactly.
mine looks good in his man cave.
Absolutely.
But that's their
Agreed,
perception.
yeah.
It's a different show altogether.
So we're very big on painting that picture of this is where your habits are taking you now, but this is where your habits could be, And a big part of our business as well is also, because what happens is we do get people fantastic results, but they themselves then refer to us, their friends and family, and because that's the people they care the most about. And the second part of our business is the development of other coaches, because I can't look after everyone and give them all a great service. I could certainly, I could certainly give people a poor service and look after a lot of people half-heartedly. That's not what we're about. We're about giving people a great service and bringing people along on that mission. Our goal is to roll out multiple nutrition clubs. Help 100 people in every street corner that we can. So most of our coaches do come from just great clients that got fantastic results, that really bought into what we believe in, and accidentally fell into coaching.
So they've put it into practice. They've actually seen what you do does work.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where my second biggest passion lies. And again, because a lot of people, especially women, but they are working in jobs and mums and things like that, or they're going back to work. And for me, I can show them actually, if this is a nutrition lifestyle that you enjoy, then you can also join with us.
You can monetize it. You can make a bit of extra cash.
Absolutely.
That pays for your holidays.
You can just basically do what I did, So I'm very passionate about saying to people, you can, as a mum, you can be in the best health you've ever been in. And also you can build a career, small or big, around your babies. I took my kids all around the world when I started my business.
See, flexibility, freedom.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was learning and I was going to different events and learning about nutrition and learning about how to build this business and dragging them along with,
It's interesting what you said right in the beginning is when you and your partner at that time, you both were fairly educated, you got jobs, got a mortgage, then the family. And I think that perception is starting to change because I've got my son the other day came to me and goes, thinking of quitting my job and doing something else. And the old me would have gone, what the hell? And now I'm like, yeah, you're only young once. I think you evolve through that. And I think that flexibility and freedom is what everybody is after because life is short.
Yeah.
70 years passes by like this.
Completely. It's funny because, we were all raised that way. You're going to go to school and you should get a job or an apprenticeship, or you're going to go to college, you're going to go to university, and you will work 40 hours for the next 40 years and you'll retire on 40%.
But it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be, and that was so illuminating for me because up to that point, up to when I started this business, I had only really been around people that were talking about career, the next job, promotion, this and this. And I'm like in this job that I hate, thinking, I don't want to progress in this job. There was nowhere to go because it was a tight-knit company. And I just didn't like it, and it was very office-based, it was computer-based, and don't get me wrong, the people were fantastic and some of my best friends to date, but the job itself, and I felt actually wasted. I thought someone else will actually be better at this job because I'm not great, I'm doing enough to get by. But because I'm coming from team sport and being around people and helping and coaching, that's where my energy is lifted being around people, and I thought I'm better served in something else. But again, what did I want to do? I thought about teaching. Maybe I could be a teacher. That was my goal when I was younger. I want to be a primary school teacher. I love primary school and I wanted to be a teacher. And I thought, actually, that's not going to give me the flexible lifestyle that I want to have. So I don't want to do that.
Give you great holidays, though.
Yeah.
Bloody great holidays.
Yeah.
I'm not going to care about that.
God, I wanted to join the police potentially, because I'm watching all this true crime stuff. And actually, maybe that's the legal bit. There wasn't so much the law. It was actually that kind of forensics. But I couldn't even do forensics because I didn't study any sciences. I'd have to go back and do hires. How am I going to raise a baby and do hires and have a mortgage? And so it just felt impossible.
So we've chatted previously about, I'm really interested. This question here, is an entrepreneur born or raised, taught?
No, so are entrepreneurs born or do you develop into an entrepreneur? I think from your perspective, you've always had it because it goes back. Okay, it goes back to looking at your family, your mom and dad. They never went to work. You said they never went to work. You never saw them go to work.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was always there. It was a seed planted, and it just needed time to germinate. Great big word. It means to
germinate.
Grow. Yeah.
Wow.
Nothing to do with germs. Yeah. But I think for me, I think there's like 0.1% of our entrepreneurs are born. Like a guy like Elon Musk is born. I've got a friend like that, born entrepreneur. But the rest of us fall into it and we develop it. Yep. That's my take on it.
I would agree with that.
What would you say for your own journey?
I would agree 100%. You might be right. There's an incline in you. Like I think I felt like I always had an inclination of, I want to do something important. I want to make a difference, if you like.
Yeah.
So I felt like I had that growing up, and maybe that's why I wanted to do teaching and stuff like that. But I wasn't thinking about it from a business perspective. I just thought, I just want to do something really cool, like I want to make a difference in people's lives. And I didn't think that was going to come from me starting a business or running a business, because I didn't have any of that. I didn't think, even when I started the business, it was just very much, this will just be something I'll do a few hours from home. That was my perception of it. And then through actually learning about business, again, because we weren't taught it, getting into books and audio and all that, and thinking, actually, this can be done, and getting around other people who'd started businesses.
Spotting the opportunities is one of the things. I think entrepreneurs see opportunities everywhere, but that is a learning in itself. But you obviously clearly seen an opportunity there.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's the difference in taking the action of actually doing something about that opportunity, which, a lot of people don't, and then they're just stuck in their jobs.
I think also the other one you've mentioned previously was networking, the power of the networking. Yeah. You said you did that at the women's, networking, and you're in other networking groups, and how important that is to actually get connected with as many people similar minded to you. For anybody that's listening, where did you start with the networking? How did you go around figuring out where, when, what? Yeah,
so I can't remember the very first one. There was one in Dalgety Bay that we attended probably for a wee while. I can't remember the name of it, but that was new. It was new to me to an extent. I had done some networking. We both had done some networking in our previous jobs. So the whole idea of networking wasn't too alien, but we never had a business to network with beforehand. And then I got an invite to a BNI group, which I'd heard the success of BNI. I thought, fantastic. I actually just never thought there was one in Dunfermline. And I realised there was one. I will say when I went along to the beginning, it was in what we'd call a core stage that we were just sort of rebuilding. So there wasn't much, you couldn't see much success in the room, if that makes sense, because they were rebuilding. But again, like with my own business, I was like, well, I had the faith. I was like, well, I know this is a 40-year-old concept. I'm sure it has to be successful, so I'll stick around. And I did. So I've been part of the BNI group in Dunfermline for probably 10, 11 years or so. Every Tuesday morning, nice and early. And that has been instrumental. The business for sure. Like, you join because you want to get business referrals and that, but much more than that, the positivity, the relationships are absolutely critical to me on a business level, but also on a personal level. Having people that are, for me, there's 30 people in my local area that I like to think speak well of me. They speak well of my brand. There's such, there's amazing friendships there. So that is invaluable, absolutely priceless. And it gives me the fear thinking to not be in the group. It's been that important to me. And it's accountability. And I will say that about networking, because I've done a lot of networking over the years. If you're in a group where there's no accountability, your results will be less so. That's just my experience. Might not be for everyone, but when you're showing up every week with people that you're working towards a common goal in terms of your group's numbers of what you want to get, but everyone else is working. I always come out that room on a Tuesday morning thinking, right, I need to do more of this, do more of that. God, wasn't that great? That was a fantastic insight here, there. And so that's been critical.
Well, it's when you look back on your business and where the referrals have came from, right in this room, we're all connected through networking. And yes, plug for BNI. BNI, we want some money off you. But
just
when you look back all your clients, it's quite an eye-opener. You go, wow, I knew them from this, and this. I wanted to get on stories. You said this as well. Stories are a great thing in business, and you sell it through stories as well. People, give us some case studies, because I do know of some of the amazing transformations of people that have been in the nutrition club, like ridiculous transformation. GDPR. I'm sure they'll be happy for you to mention it.
Or you could just say Joe.
Aye, Joe. His name's Joe.
I don't mind. Honestly, our club members don't mind, because they're so chuffed with the results. Yeah, I tell everybody about my results, So they're, and rightly so they should be dead proud. So actually, to your point, Vic, how you were saying before, but people want a quick fix. But actually, if it's just progressive, because, and that's another thing that I'm a big believer in, consistency of daily habits in business as well. Like, your success is never one big thing. It's the stuff that you do every single day.
It's habits, though.
Habits. Yeah. So one of our biggest loser, for want of a better word, in our nutrition club over the last year has been a lady, Karen. So Karen has lost 60 pounds, which is just
what is that in
tremendous.
kilograms, though? You need to,
geez.
sorry.
2.2.
Yeah, divided by 2.2.
pounds.
Yeah.
2.2.
Yeah, 30 odd kilos.
Jeez, that's phenomenal. Hey?
And you can go onto our Instagram, you can see her before, her progress picture is just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. She's been coming for about a year. So in actual fact, it's just over £1 a week.
Yeah.
You know,
So
people come
it's-
in and they do say,
absolutely.
people look at her picture, they're like, oh my God, that's incredible. And I'm like, yeah, it took her a year to do it, but the year will pass by like lightning. Some people,
Absolutely,
oh my God,
because we're already-
a whole year. And I'm thinking, well, what else was your plan for the year? In a year's time, you were probably going to be more overweight. That is the reality. Most of us are gaining weight over time.
Nicola, is it a fair statement to say that it is small changes that you
Yes.
make? It's not one big change. It's a combination of small changes that you make. So this week you might eat 5 pastas. Next week you eat 4.
Yeah.
The next month, because you eat 3. Because I'm looking at you because I know how much you love pasta.
Well, he's giving me a dig. You give me a dig. Yes, I've not been in the nutrition club for maybe a couple of weeks.
I'm sorry, no.
Celebrating my 21st.
Oh, sorry, yeah, you're 30. I thought it was your 33rd.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't stick in at school.
But you're exactly right. So in our nutrition club, because we actually work 10 visits at a time. So when we work 10 visits at a time, there can be different focus points. So we always say to our club members, you don't have to learn it all on day one. These first 10 visits, let's nail breakfast and drink enough water. You know, we'll focus on that. We can layer in exercise and we can start to do all these things in time so they don't feel overwhelmed. Because that's it. What we often find when people do any sort of new health kick is, I'm all in, you know, and very few people are able to do that when they've got a job and kids and business and things like that. It's very difficult to give that your full focus and do really well and keep that up if it's a complete shift in your lifestyle. Where for us, if someone's, you know, they're already eating chocolate at breakfast, not at breakfast time, at snack time, you know.
There's another thing there. That's you, Michael.
But if
All I've got
someone's-
is if there's food there, I'll eat it.
Yeah,
No matter what it is.
You like the honey monster.
seafood diet, yeah, seafood and eating, No, if someone's, you know, if they love to have crisps, if they love to have a cup of tea and a biscuit, we can show them healthy alternatives, you know. So it's not about, if you're trying to overwhelm someone's entire diet, the time they eat, the things they eat, they can only keep up for a certain period of time. Whereas I do have people say to me, right, okay, just tell me everything to do. And I'm like, I'll just tell you some things to do right now. Once we nail them and they become second nature, like drinking 2 to 3 liters or water a day, if that becomes second nature, then we can talk about other stuff. But in the moment, it's just, you'll actually get results in some of that stuff in the initial stages, and then we'll start to get better. You know, and actually, where with most people when they diet, they get results really, really quickly with a traditional diet, often a lot of water loss and things like that. And then it starts to level out and they become less motivated. And usually they're tired and crab it because they're focused a lot on really just less calories. Not so much what am I feeding my body, just eating a little bit less. So they're tired, they're crab it. They might be losing weight, but they're not really enjoying the journey.
Yeah.
Because we're feeding the body, they're buzzing after a couple of days. I don't know what it is, Nicola. I've just got more spring in my step. I'm just sleeping better. And so they're motivated to keep going. So we just layer on better habits, 10 visits at a time.
Yeah.
You know,
The thing
so
is, in your
it's not so overwhelming at
business,
once.
you've spent years growing this business, making all this money that you're planning on making, and if you've not got the health at the back end of it, you know,
John
you're never
D.
going to
Rockefeller.
You're
Yeah.
just not
You know
going
the
to be able
story
to
about
enjoy it.
John D. Rockefeller?
I think your health is a discipline like any other.
Yeah, well, exactly.
You know?
Yep.
Tell me the story
You know
of
the story
John D. Rockefeller.
John D. Rockefeller in today's terms was more wealthier. I think it was called United while it was wealthier than put all the top earners together. He was wealthier more than that. But when it was at the prime of his wealth, you could only eat toast and his food needed to be digested. So you can have all the money in the world. If you don't have your health, you have nothing.
So this is back to what we start business for. You want to have better work-life balance, which you realise that you work all hours in the sun, but you don't feel that. You don't feel it like you're clock watching. And money, when you actually start thinking, how much money do I actually need and want? Because when you get the knock at the door saying, oh, health, you go, oh, damn. You forget about that. You forget about the money. You just instantly go straight to family, kids, partners, and your friends, because really that's what you're living your life, having memories, and money just gives you different types of memories. And I've reflected on that maybe in the last few years, and that's why as much as people have an opinions, just like belly buttons, go, why are you going there? Why are you spending money there? I want a holiday. I want a really good holiday, and I want to work for that because I get really good memories out of that, and I want that for my family. Yeah. Everybody else can go. But when the chips fall, you're just looking over your shoulder, who's with me? Who's supporting me? And money does help.
Yeah, money is just a vehicle.
However, you have to find out why you're doing it, and what you have alluded to earlier on, that passion, that drive. You never had that in your old business. Yes, you did your job, but it doesn't become a job. It doesn't feel like a job when you actually enjoy it.
And when you're working for yourself and you're reaping your own benefits, I feel like. Because I found in my job before, no matter how hard I worked or how little I worked, I got paid the same.
Yeah.
And I had a 1% pay rise probably in the 6 or 7 years. So when I got then a vision of, I could build my business to this level and it would take this amount of years, I was like, well, I'm in, because I had no better plan anyway. I was going nowhere faster anyway, So, but for me, money is, it just gives you choices.
Yeah,
I'm not a material person. I don't want to earn a lot of money.
Say she who drives designer, who has designer clothes, drives a fancy car. I'm only joking.
Yeah, so like cars, handbags, that's not my thing. Yeah. My thing is enough money that I can do what I want, when I want, and with whom I want. If the Olympics is coming up, and I'm like, right,
and you want to go, you can go.
We're going next week. Yeah, we're all going next week. We're going to go first class, and we're going to sit front row, and we're going to watch LeBron James. That is my goal, is to just get up and go. And in the beginning of my business, it was different. And I will say that you often talk, Vic, is about start with why, and I'm very big on. And that's what keeps you going. Why are you here? Why is it you're doing it? In the beginning, actually, it was freedom to be a mum. To see all the moments of my kids' lives. And I remember getting to a point in the business, probably 7 or 8 years in, not working as hard as I should have been, not focused, just losing consistency and getting frustrated and things are not growing and all that. And I realised, I don't know how I realised, but I realised that my why had changed, because in the beginning it had been to give the kids everything, which really for children is just time and attention. Time, attention and love, because they don't need the material things. And I thought, God, actually, I've been giving them that for the last 7 or 8 years. So my why has been served, if that makes sense. So maybe I need a new why, because I've achieved this goal. Yeah. My purpose has changed. My purpose was to give my kids me, which I gave them. I could walk them to school back and forth. I never missed an activity. I never missed a sports day while I was building the business. So I was like, that's interesting. So now what is driving me? What's putting a fire in my belly? And I realised that what I really love to do was to pay it forward, to speak on stage and to do all those things, to make a bigger impact. To tell more people about how they could be healthier, how they could have a different type of lifestyle. And then that's what drove me. And then that's when I was realised, right, because suddenly I was realising who I was spending time with was other people that weren't growing. It was other people that served what I was doing. We're all having a pity party together type of thing.
Pity party.
Yeah, exactly. It's not growing for you either. Great. It must be the industry, and I wouldn't say we did that for very long, but long enough to go, actually, hold on. And then I was then getting around my mentors again, like, hold on, we've got this to here, how do we get to there? And then really, then just getting that focus. I don't regret that time either.
Yeah. It's a good learning.
Yeah, and I was a super, super present mum. I don't think anyone thought I had a job. No, I'm just kidding, but you learn to work in the pockets of the day, but the nature of the business bit was that I could go to the gym in the afternoon, and it still is like that. That was also the point in it. Because you're not necessarily on social media posting the graft. I'm up at 5 a.m. and I'm not going to bed till midnight. You're not posting that stuff necessarily. But I find that wasn't happening. I just wasn't working as hard. And I realised that's because my motivation has changed. And then when that happened a few years later, then the business boomed. Because again, not initially. Again, it's another year or so of grind. Nothing's happening. It's like popcorn. If you put popcorn in the microwave and you keep opening the door, nothing's going to happen. If you keep stopping the momentum, nothing happens. Leave it in there for its 3 minutes. It looks like nothing's happening, and then suddenly it's ready. Boof, boof, boof. That was like that,
That's a great analogy.
That's a great analogy.
It was a great learning. It was a great learning.
That one.
We're going to keep that on our back.
And I probably learned that from anything else. So anything I will say, disclaimer, anything valuable I've said, I've probably learned from someone else. but you've got to be a student, You've always got to be a student.
So
I've never got it all figured out.
Well, you spoke about Tony Robbins and Jim Owen as well. Two great. Is it Jim Owen?
Rowan. ROHN, yeah.
There's a lot of people out there, Gary Vee, all these. So for anybody listening, go on to the YouTube, go on and find these people, because they do have golden nuggets there. And sometimes you forget about them. So it's always about rinse and repeating. And there's an education out there for everybody. I mean, hopefully this is a platform for an education.
So much. Jim Rohn's philosophies changed my life. in all honesty.
Yeah.
And I remember my mentors had said to me, you need to, we'd recommend you listen to this. And then I wouldn't say I was arrogant towards it, but I just didn't think it was necessary because I was motivated in the beginning. And I was like, okay, I don't think I need to. And I remember I accidentally had heard this Jim Rohn video on YouTube, Seasons of Change, and I was in. I was like, oh my goodness, that was so powerful. And then I'm like, next thing. And my office at home is Jim Rohn everywhere. I've listened to it. And what's funny is you do listen to it all the time. Like maybe once a year or something, I'll go back to that book or this or that. And you're always at a different stage of your learning. You're like, God, that really hit me this time round. But because your journey's at a different point, it wasn't as relevant the first time you heard it. So there are certain books and audios that I'll listen to at least once a year. Jim Rohn is just kind of a sounding board all the time, to be honest. Compound Effect is one of my favourite books. And every time I listen, because it was all about the daily habits and the penny that doubles and all that. And that was really profound for me. And it gave me almost the fear of breaking the chain of momentum, of not doing that one thing one day. Oh my goodness, does that mean, because like the popcorn popping, I'm opening the door and I'm stopping the momentum. And Atomic Habits, more recently, that's one book that I'm reading once a year or listening to once a year. But I find with that, because a lot of people think they don't have time, it's in my gym time, it's in the car, it's turning your car into like a mobile university. I've not got the time to read books. I don't really have the time to sit and read the book anymore, but I'll listen.
There's ways around it. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger and many other people have alluded to the fact that the 24-hour clock, let's break down your 24-hour clock, how long are you sleeping for, how long are you doing your work for, You've always got time. Even if you're only spending 10, 20 minutes a day, you have got 10, 20 minutes per day. Imagine what you'll be like in a month's time. Would you be better or worse? Yeah.
It's the same with if you lost £1 a week for a year, you'd be 4.5 stone down or whatever it is. You'd be 60 odd pounds down, 50, 60 pounds down.
I'd hang up like a tracksuit.
But if you listen to 10 pages of a book every single day, by the end of the year, you've read, it's
like 100
that's
books.
Probably 100 books. Yeah. So is that are you going to be better? Probably.
It's just that discipline that I think will hopefully inspire people to get off their couch and, they're having that dream and that wish. Just get started.
Yeah.
Get started. We're now in an era where we've got loads of platforms that you can educate yourself. You don't have to go to college and university for that sort of thing in business, because business is about being around the right people and taking golden nuggets along the way. I think it's everybody should just try it.
Absolutely.
Just try it.
So, Nicola, if people wanted to get a hold of you, how do they get hold of you? You've alluded to social media platforms, but for our listeners, what would they type in? How would they find you?
If they go into Facebook or Instagram, it's probably the easiest way. They would find me by my name, in all honesty, Nicola Walker, but they'd also, our business is King Street Nutrition. Okay. So they'd find it on that. Yeah.
Well, that was brilliant. Yep. I really enjoyed that. Really insightful. And strapline, who's what to say the strapline this time?
Michael.
Well, it's maybe a bit apt this week, but this is your world, shape it, or someone else will.
Boom. There you go.
Love it.